Today we're building a beautiful sales dashboard. Now, what I love about this dashboard is it doesn't matter if I'm talking to the CEO or the board of directors or investors or department heads, everyone loves sales, and presenting it in a beautiful dashboard like this will add tremendous credibility. So in this video, we're not only building this dashboard, but we're gonna go over a lot of important Excel techniques that you could use across any template. And if you wanna skip the tutorial and get this template, just check the description and comments below. And if you wanna connect your data automatically to this template, well, you can try our tool, Model Wiz, entirely for free. It's an Excel add-in that gives you access to beautiful dashboards and financial models tied to your accounting data in a matter of seconds. Let's get started. All right, so like most dashboards, we're gonna start with the front end before we then design the back end. Like I mentioned in another video, this is actually a really popular topic in computer programming, and your Excel dashboards are no different. So let's start by first understanding what is the color palette and the font family that we're going to use here. Now, normally what I would do is I would use a color picker tool. You could put this into PowerPoint, but given that everyone's using AI these days, let's see how well AI can do this. All right, so here's my prompt where I'm asking for all of the colors and font family, and let's just take a picture of all this and I'm gonna place it here, and let's see how good of a job it does. All right, looks like it was able to pull out all of this information, which is going to be really helpful as I go to build out my dashboard. So let's now start mocking this up. It looks like from C9 all the way through R12, I need to have this yellow. And ChatGPT is saying that this is going to be my hex code. So let me just copy that, and I'll click on more colors. And I'll click on custom, and I'm just going to enter in that hex code over here. Okay, and it looks like the color didn't quite match up, but I think this is close enough for us to continue. So let me now just outline the rest of the colors on all these other boxes. So I'll copy this blue over here, and I'll paste that. And this looks like it did a bit of a better job. Still a little bit too dark. Maybe this is somewhere that AI isn't so strong with. All right, so I'm gonna continue over here. Then we got a green KPI box, and I'm just gonna speed up as I go through this. All right, so now I have the outline, and of course this is gonna be where the chart's gonna go. Now, notice one thing, see how sharp these edges are, and this over here looks rounded? Well, that's because I also have a border around this. So let's see if we can do the same thing. I'm gonna add a shape, and it's gonna be a rounded box, and I'm just gonna select it around here. And under format shape, I'm actually gonna click on align, and then I'm gonna click on snap to grid so that it's easily going to snap into the actual cells that this makes it up. Okay, perfect. Now I'm gonna give this no shape fill, and then for the outline, we're gonna make it the same color here. All right, this is a little bit better, but I think I need to increase the weight. So under weight over here, let's just make that something like that. All right, this looks now much better. So we have this again, item that goes above it. And I'm just gonna repeat those same steps for all these other shapes. So I can actually just copy this shape here, and I'll repeat these same steps. All right, and finally this last green one here. Excellent. Now, this may seem like a small nitpick, but it's really design elements like this that make you go from amateur to pro. Now I'll start filling in some fake dummy data. All right, 2026 sales dashboard, total sales, and I'll just speed up again as I type in all this information. Now for this up arrow, you can do that by just holding the Alt key and then on your keypad hitting 3-0. All right, so I got this first KPI box. Let me continue with the next ones. All right, so now I have some mock data filled in. It looks like now I need to increase the size and change the colors, along with merging some cells on a lot of these boxes. So again, I'm gonna pull up my little cheat sheet here. So according to this, the title is gonna be 34, and it'll also be bold. So I'm gonna just merge the cells here as well. All right, now for the section headers, those are gonna be 18, and the KPI numbers are going to be 28. And it looks like I'm gonna need to merge some more cells. So why don't I just do that? Cool, so this is starting to come together. Now it looks like we have a different color for the actual numbers. So I'm just gonna select all of these here. Let's bold it, and I'll use this primary text color. All right, this is starting to come together. We got some secondary text. All right, and then the muted labels for the comparisons. And then finally, let's do these cells. And now I don't think that this number is working out, so maybe this next one, still too dark. Maybe I could just choose one that I think makes sense. All right, I think that's fine. Let's also change the color here. Awesome. All right, now we're ready to move on to phase 2, populating this dashboard with actual data. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. Are you still using AI as a chatbot? Then you're already behind. Because right now, AI can literally be your employee. It has its own computer, its own files, its own email inbox. You message it from WhatsApp or Telegram like you would message anyone on your team, and it just handles things. Need it to brief you every Monday morning on what needs your attention? Done. Need it to monitor your inbox for payment issues or draft responses to routine client questions? It's on it. You can connect it to your accounting software, your CRM, your calendar through API, and you choose whatever AI model you want it to run on. The tool is called OpenClaw. And normally, setting something like this up means giving it a server and configuring everything yourself. Well, Hostinger takes care of all of that. One click, your AI employee is live and running. AI credits are already built in, zero maintenance, and it stays online around the clock, even when you're not. Managed plan starts at $5.99 a month, and you can use the code and the link in the description for a discount. Now back to the video. All right, so there are in essence 3 things that we need to build out here. First is going to be the values that allow us to populate our sales dashboard for each quarter, for each year, and also as a comparison against the prior year. We need to populate the dates that actually populate those values. We'll then use a simple SUMIFS in order to get the values based off those dates. And then finally, we need to have dynamic text that updates depending on which period we actually switch to. Let's first populate the periods that we have. And in order to do that, we got to get to know our file a little bit better. So here's traditional profit and loss, only you'll notice a few things that are different about it. So here I have all of my actuals going back from 2025, and then I have all of my projections. Now, this is really common whenever you're building out a forecast. You're going to want to showcase your historicals and then build your projections based off of that. And that's what this drivers tab over here allows me to do. So any information that I populate over here, if I let's say just change it to 100,000, you'll then see that on my income statement, that 100,000 gets populated. So I'm going to be building all my formulas based on this drivers tab, and I'm going to expand this section over here so that we can see all of our dates. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to spill all of the periods here so that I could then pick it up in the period over here for the dropdown. So I'm going to write equals year. Let's then point to all of the values here, and I'll lock that and I'll hit enter. And it looks like I have a spill range because the years are populating that way. So let's instead make this a transpose, and let's also make this a unique. Awesome. Now we have all the years that make up my financial model. There's just one other thing. I want to add the words trailing 12 months to the end so that I could select that as well. Well, for that, I'm going to use VStack, and I'm just going to put a comma and then write trailing 12 months and then hit enter. All right, now it shows up. So in order to get the data validation to actually work here, we can just click on data and click on data validation. I'm going to then choose list. And now I'm only going to select the first cell here with this hash symbol. And what this hash symbol does is it'll tell the data validation to pull the full list. Let's now click OK. And now if I select the dropdown, you can see that I have all the options here. Perfect. Now let's start actually populating our dates. So we're going to populate the start and end date over here for each period, for each month. And then we'll also do the same thing over here. All right, so now it's also populated these two titles here. So I'm just going to point for the current period. Now for the prior period, I could just do this period -1, but if it's a trailing 12 months, I'm going to want it to say prior period. So instead, all right, equals if this over here equals trailing 12 months, then return prior period. Otherwise, return this -1. Excellent. So let's see what happens if I choose 2026 here. The information updates, and if I choose trailing 12 months, this updates as well. All right, so for now, the trailing 12-month period, I need to understand what is my actual last month of actuals. And you'll notice that my actuals end on January 31st, 2026. Everything past that is a projection. So I have this named range here called a latest month of actuals, and it points directly to that value over here. So I'm going to now use that in this formula because I know that this is going to be the ending point and I need to go 11 months backwards. So I'm going to say if this over here is equal to trailing 12 months, then return latest month of actuals. Otherwise, return the date where this will be the year, 12/31. And of course, if your year ends on a different fiscal period, you could just plug that into the date function over here. All right, now let me hit enter, and it looks like this is working. Let me see what happens if I change this to 2026. It again works. So for the start date, that'll be very easy, right? We can just say equals EO month, this -1 + 1. And that'll get us the first of the period. We could then continue that cycle by just saying this -1, and then I'll use that same EO month function here, and we could just copy this all the way to the top. Excellent. Now for the prior period start and prior period end, that's actually pretty simple. I could just use the eDate function, point to this here, -12, and hit enter. I could copy that to the right, and now I could bring this down. Perfect. So we have our monthly dates, our monthly comparison dates. Let's populate where the actual chart is going to go. So for my end period, I could just take this same formula that we had at the bottom and paste it over here. Now this time I want it to span the entire year because that's what's going to span this chart that you see right over here. So once again, I'll use that EO month function, -12 + 1. Excellent. Now for average sales, it's going to be the same period. And then for quarterly sales, once again, it depends on whether I have a year selected or the trailing 12 months. So once again, I'm going to copy this cell here for the very end and I'll populate it. And now I'm going to write EO month -3 + 1. Now, once again, I can take this and select -1 and just copy this all the way up in order to get our periods. So let's just test this out. With 2026 selected, if I select trailing 12 months, you'll see that the information updates for the 3-month periods for the trailing 12 months. Before we then populate our numbers, the last thing we need to do is just populate the text that'll go over here. Again, we're gonna write an if this value is equal to trailing 12 months, then we'll wanna select the start date, ampersand, space, dash, space, inside quotes, ampersand, and then close. Now I'm just gonna close this right now because I wanna see what this looks like. And when I hit enter, you'll notice that what Excel did was this converted us to a number format. That's because dates are actually numbers. So if I just change this over here to a number, you'll see why it's pulling like that. But we don't really want it to show that way. Instead, we wanna show the month and maybe year. Thankfully, there's a function that allows you to get that, and it's the text function. So I'll write text. Now this is the actual value. For the format, I'll open quotations and I'm gonna write MMM-YY. All right, now let's do the same thing for over here. All right, now let's click enter and see what happens. All right, this looks a lot better. Now I could actually see the information here. The last thing that we need to do is just change this for the other side of the if function, where I'll just put a comma and then I'll just say Q4 space, close quotations, and the value here. So trailing 12 months shows November 2025 to January 2026. If I change this to 2026, well, now it says Q4 2026. I can now just copy this information up, and instead of this saying Q4, it'll say Q3, and this will say Q2, and this will say Q1. All right, now it's time to pull in our actual values. And this is actually really simple once you understand how a SUMIFS function works. Because we already have all the dates that we need, we now just need to sum the values if they fall within those dates. Watch how I'm gonna do that. First, I'm gonna duplicate my screen, and I'll navigate to this drivers tab, and I'm just gonna bring this in like that. And now watch how simple this is to populate. I'm gonna write equals SUMIFS, and it's going to be on this revenue line item. So I'm going to lock this entirely because I don't want that to change. Now there are two conditions, right? The first is if these start dates are greater than or equal to, and I'm gonna wrap that in quotations with an ampersand, the date over here. And the second condition is if the end dates, comma, are less than or equal to, again in quotations and an ampersand, the end date over here. Let's now close it out and see what happens. At 106,132, was that what we had for January 2026? It looks like we did. And if I just copy and paste this to the right, I need to just move this over 1 and hit enter. All right, it looks like this works. So now I can just copy this down and paste. All right, now let's see if I could do the same thing over here. All right, so now I'm gonna populate the same information for the start and end here. So I'm gonna just take this formula, I'll copy it, and I'm gonna paste it here and just drag the references up and hit enter. Now I'm gonna take this reference over here, and instead of referencing these cells, remember I want the year before it, I'm just gonna say eDate, this value -12, and then we can do the same thing for this over here, again, -12, and then enter. So this is saying we did 999,374 in 2025. Well, if I check on the income statement, you'll see that that information matches. Okay, it's working. Let's continue. I'm gonna take our current minus our prior in order to get the variance. For the percentage variance, I'm gonna say equals, if error, our variance divided by the absolute of the prior, otherwise return 0. Then we can say if the variance is greater than 0, return alt 3 0, otherwise alt 3 1 for the downside, and then close. And we just need to wrap that around quotations and hit enter. All right, so the comparison text is really just gonna now join all of these values together. Let me show you what I mean. I'm gonna write equals text for this over here, and the format is going to be 0% for positive, 0% in quotations for negative, and then I'll close that. So if I hit enter, that first part is done. Now I can do an ampersand and we'll point to the up or down arrow, then another ampersand and a space. And then finally an ampersand again, using the text function, this time for the variance. And we'll say dollar in quotations with a number sign like this if it's positive, and then dollar, but this time the numbers if it's negative, and let's also wrap that around quotations and then close. And let's hit enter. Oops, looks like I have the formula syntax somewhere. All right, it looks like I just gotta fix up the quotation so that it only is at the start and the end. Now if I hit enter, all right, it looks like it's populating. So I should be able to just copy this information down and paste. All right, so let's now put this to the test. Is this whole table going to update as the values here update? So if I change this to 2027, the information updates. If I change it to trailing 12 months, the information updates. Okay, so we have to do one more table, and that's this table over here that showcases our sales by month as it compares to the prior period. So this is going to be the start date. This is going to be the end date. And then this, of course, will just be the display row. So now I can just select this and copy that down so that the information will automatically update. And then once again, I'm just going to refer to this information here and this information here. So now I can just subtract one from here and use the EO month function, -1, +1 for there. And now I just continue. And it looks like it doesn't like these references because I have this blank in the middle. Well, I can just select the information like this instead, and I'll do the same thing. And now I can just extend these columns a little bit, and I could just point to the cell here. And this time with custom formatting, I'm gonna press Control-1, and I just want the month. So I'm gonna write MMMM and hit enter. Excellent. Now you already know how simple it is to populate the dates for this period. And now to populate, I can just pull the values from here, right? So I can do, again, a SUMIFS on the current column. If the start date here is greater than or equal to the start date here, and then the end date is less than or equal to end date here. 107,613 seems to match. Now it looks like I just have a small mistake. This should actually be referring to this, which now updated everything correctly. All right, I'm just gonna copy this now down. And instead of it pulling from current, I'm going to pull from prior, and I could just really quickly copy this all the way to the right. And now I'm going to group these two rows, Alt-A-G, and then enter. All right, and now I could just collapse this here, and I'm just going to make it a little bit prettier. Our last two steps involve linking up each and every single one of these values to the tables that we created, and then finally creating that chart. So for linking up our values, that's pretty simple. I'll just point over there, and I could point to the information here, and then I'll just say equals compared to space and this cell here. And I'm just going to really quickly do the same thing for everything else. I'm noticing that this should actually be an average ifs instead of a sum if, so let's just change that. Okay, and now let's just check. If I change this to 2027, do all the values update? All right, looks like we're rock and rolling. Final step is just to do this chart here. And that's pretty simple. I'm just going to hold down Control and select this information over here, and we'll click insert, and then we're gonna choose this chart. Now we're gonna reformat this, but first let's put that here, and let's move it there. Now we don't need a chart title. I'm gonna click on format axis for the dates, and then under number, I'm gonna change it from type to this value right here. Let's get rid of the outline. Let's get rid of the shape fill. And for the fill color, we could again use this orange, and I'm gonna get rid of this chart outline. All right, now the last thing we're gonna do is we are going to click on insert. And once again, we're gonna do that rounded edges shape, and we'll align the round edges like that. We'll have no shape outline, but we do want a background, and that's gonna be that same blue color. And let's send it to the back. So now if we just make our actual chart, no shape fill, the information populates, but I'm not so crazy about these colors. So let's just make the grid lines a little bit thicker. Okay, and I think our dashboard is done. So again, I'm just gonna change this to 2026 and the information all updates, or I can change this to trailing 12 months. And now everything is good to go. Now, this is just one of many dashboards that you need to know how to build in your toolkit. If you made it this far, it's clear that you're serious about dashboard building, which is why you should check out this video for building a killer dashboard. I'm Josh, your CFO guy, and I'll catch you in the next one.